You're listening to the Word Slinger Podcast, episode 56, Sexy Entrepreneurship with Heather Havenwood. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it.
Writing a book. It can be the best way to build or grow your business, or to simply tell the story that you wish to tell. Learn how to write your book in 30 days or less. Pick up 30-Day Author today from Amazon, Apple iBooks, or other online retailers.
It's the Word Slinger Podcast, where story matters. Build your brand, write your book, redefine who you are. It's all about the story here. What's yours? Now, here's the guy who invented Pants Optional, Kevin Tomlinson, the Word Slinger.
Word Slinger.
Hey everybody, this is Kevin Tomlinson, the Word Slinger, and today I'm a moving Word Slinger. We just to bring everybody up to speed, and if you haven't been listening to the show over the past few, months, my wife Kara and I, we have managed finally to sell the house. So we close in just a couple of days. Actually, we sign all the paperwork. The closing date got moved up unexpectedly, which is part of the reason why you didn't hear from me last week. Sorry about that. And this week, it's been a rush to try to get everything packed and ready to go. We got movers coming tomorrow. I'm moving some stuff over today. It's a moving kind of weekend. So that's going to suck up a lot of WordSlinger time over the next maybe 5 days or so. But I'm planning to try to keep things on track. My sort of master plan to record several episodes ahead of time worked briefly. It got me through the Austin Film Festival, but did not get me through the unexpected move. I kind of slacked off on you guys. I'm sorry about that. But I'm going to make up for it today by bringing you a great interview from Heather Havenwood. Now, unlike most of my episodes, I'm just going to pause for a second right now and warn you that this one's going to be marked explicit because of language mostly. So, but there's a little bit of sexual content, and the only reason I bring it up is because I know we're all grown-ups, but the fact is some people listen to these things with kids in the car or maybe kids around or whatever, and I didn't want to offend anyone just out of hand. So I want to offend you in all the regular ways. So if you are listening with kids or whatever nearby, or if there's anyone you don't want hearing, saucy language, just, go ahead and plug in the earbuds. So there you go. You've been warned. Okay. So all that said, this is actually a great interview. I had a lot of fun with Heather. She's kind of a local. She came from Houston. She's in Austin now. I wish I had time. I was going to try to look her up when I was in Austin. I just didn't get a chance. So that's too bad. Sorry, Heather. But maybe next time. So I'm going to go ahead and roll this. And I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. There's a lot in here. I like the conversation we get into about being a man, because I feel like that's something that a lot of guys probably need to start paying more attention to. I feel like I need to pay more attention to being a man. Like, being a man today has become difficult, it seems, at least to me. Okay, all right, whatever. I'm gonna stumble into that sort of offensive territory where everybody has to write me and tell me how many privileges I have or something. So I'm just going to let this roll on in. Enjoy this interview with Heather Havenwood. I think you're going to get a lot out of it, especially if you are of an entrepreneur mindset. Here's how to be a sexy entrepreneur with Heather Havenwood. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in, and today I'm sitting with Heather Havenwood. Hey, I managed to get the name right, first try. How you like that?
That's good, thank you.
I flubbed that just before the call, and which I'm prone to do, but Heather is the Chief Sexy Boss. Now, I kind of dig that title, and now I'm regretting Wordslinger as my title. I may have to switch it. You can find her at Sexy Boss Inc., among other sites. HeatherHavenwood.com is also one. And you're going to find a whole bunch of links to those in the show notes. So, Heather, hey, how are you? Thanks for joining me today.
Well, thank you. And you're in Houston.
I am.
And I'm Heather Havenwood from Houston. There you go.
Heather Havenwood from Houston. All those H's.
All those H's. Yes. Sexy boss. I'm actually born and raised in Houston. So people ask me, what do you, I thought you were in Austin, Heather. I am in Austin.
Yes.
But I was born and raised in Houston. Heather from Houston. There you go.
I love alliteration. So tell me how Sexy Boss works into all this, because I'm very curious now.
Sure. No problem. I was just born and raised a sexy boss. There you go. That's it. No, I'm just
That's
kidding.
it. End of
That's
story.
the end of the
See
story.
you next week, everybody.
See you next week. Have a great podcast. It came, actually, I have a book out called Sexy Boss. You're welcome to check it out on Amazon. And then I created sexybossinc.com, really designed for the empowerment of women specifically. Some men think they're sexy boss too, but I think it kind of has a woman appeal. So that's where the focus of that specific site is for, really empowering women on themselves and stepping out of their comfort zone and starting a business. Because I really believe that everyone is an entrepreneur. Even if you work for a big company, you got to be an entrepreneur inside of that company. Yeah. So therefore, you need to learn that skill set of entrepreneurship, either solo entrepreneur, intra-entrepreneur, or just true entrepreneur. So I feel that everyone needs to know that skill set, and women specifically aren't really taught that, to go on your own and build something from scratch. Guys kind of are, the logo, the logos back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Go build a world with logos, and we're taught to share our dolls, right. So it's a different mindset. And so I really, that was kind of an inspiration. And the book itself is actually my story of my entrepreneurship journey, all the, what I call skins on my knees and busted nose and things that I've overcome and had thought I knew what I was doing and really found out I had no clue in the entrepreneur world. So it's my story and hoping to inspire people out there to go on their own.
I love it. I mean, that's exactly what this podcast is all about. Inspiring people
it's
to do
word
exactly
slinging.
That. Yeah, it's word slinging.
It's word slinging. Yeah. And Chief Sexy Boss, actually, it's funny when it first came out, and I still get it. I either get like, wow, I love that. Yeah. Or how dare you bring those two words together?
Why do you think that is?
It really is one of those word slinging words where you can have it separate, like sexy, and then workplace, boss, because we're taught, here in America with all our different sexual harassment suits that we're not supposed to bring that into the workplace. Yeah. But there's a show out there called Suits. You ever watched that show? Okay, I love that show. Now that whole show is people in spectacular, gorgeous, sexy office outfits, word slinging.
Yeah.
That's the whole show. And I love it because they're hot and sexy and good looking, and then they're fighting with their words.
I like how you keep working word slinging in there right next to sexy, because that makes me feel pretty good.
Helping you out.
Yeah.
so that's Sexy Boss.
Yeah. And it is funny, actually, how, luckily, I sexually harass my boss all the time, but I don't seem to mind.
Good.
So, I love how you're combining that. That's cool because it sets a vibe right away, and it upsets expectations. That's kind of cool.
Yes,
you're disruptive.
I'm very disruptive. Yeah, that's a good word for me. Yeah. Disruptive. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I can't claim credit for it. I didn't invent the word.
Disruptive.
You're literally writing it down too. I heard the
pen
am.
Click. Can you hear that?
Good.
Thank you.
I'll send you the bill later. So, so what are some of these? What are some of the like key entrepreneurial skills that people need, especially women? I mean, I know you're saying, and I get what you're saying because I've seen that, and I've known some really strong female leaders and bosses. I've been pretty fortunate in that, and they're tough as nails, but they kind of get that. They don't get that. They can't play with that sexy vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like they're afraid to. So,
they're afraid to.
Yeah.
They can, but they're taught that's not appropriate.
Yeah.
Correct.
So what do you say to
what do I say to that? Okay, what I say to that is read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, old school, chapter 7. Sex Transmutation is the name of the chapter. And the name of the chapter is Sex Transmutation because Napoleon Hill talks about that the energy of sex is the most powerful energy we have as human beings on this planet. Mm-hmm. And if you try to kill it off, push it down, push it into a little ball, it will always come out because it's most powerful. That's why here in America we're so inundated. People are like sexual scandals,
Yeah, yeah.
because we're like, he looked like a nice boy. Because and then the Josh, there's a bunch of stuff going on with that. The guy with the 8 kids or 18 kids, I'm not sure. The guy in Utah, and all of a sudden, oh, he's got these sexual issues. Well, it's not these sexual issues. Sexuality is your most powerful energy as human beings. And specifically when we see when men try to push it down, it hinders their life because it always kind of comes out in a negative way. But when men, what I call own it, and I'm talking about men here, men own it. They're like, I am a sexual being. And we call that charismatic.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah, yes,
and
I
then
see
they're
it.
more powerful. Wow, you're charismatic. You're just so charismatic, and we're drawn to that, and that's powerful, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, that's called success. When a woman pushes it down, it's like, you're a kind of a bitch, you're so bitchy, you need to get laid or something like that. It's usually there's all kinds of terms there. And then there's the woman who owns it, who's powerful, who's also owns it. She's a woman and she's a sexual being. We call that kind of slutty. So there's this huge dynamic with women. We feel like we can't be either.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. And for myself, the moment I started to own my femininity and, I'm a woman. I mean, it's kind of like a haha,
Yeah.
I am, and I'm a sexual being as well. And owning my energy, owning who I am on all levels, all scopes of the energy wheel, love, masculinity, femininity, sexuality, then I become a more powerful person within myself, and then I attract a better success in life. And so that's how that works. That's the answer to your question.
Okay. And so now I'm curious though, like, how did you get to here? Like,
Oh, wow.
you've had these revelations clearly. So,
Oh, yeah.
what prompted that? How did you get to where you are right now?
That's a long answer, but I'll tell you the short answer
You
of
got
that.
time.
Yeah, you got time. I started out in the corporate world, and very young age, 22, 23. When I first got to that interview, this guy named was Mike. I remember and this is like the beginning. It was kind of an interesting story. I get there, I'm 22. I had to drop out of college because I ran out of money. So I figured this is my way to, if I could work corporate, then I could go to school at night, figure it out, So I get this job, I go to the interview, and he's like, well, you're 22, you're cute, you're pretty, you talk really well, so let's put you in customer service.
Okay.
That makes sense, right? And I don't have a degree. And I said, no. And he goes, well, what do you want? And I said, I want outside sales. Now, in the world, this is in corporate America, and this is in a telecom business. And in the world of telecom, it's like customer service just, sits there all day. And then you have inside sales. They kind of sit there all day. And then you have outside sales. There's like the big money, okay?
Yeah.
And he looked at me, and he just laughed. He's like, you're female. A, you're 22. B, 3, you don't have a degree, and you're young. He was like, no. And I said, give me a shot. He goes, okay. And he just kind of had this like, all right, challenge me. Okay. He goes, I got to pass it by my boss. Now, the boss, her name was Cindy. So the whole boss of the whole, like the regional was Cindy, was a woman. And she brought me in. She was tough to know. I like Cindy. I remember sitting in I was scared. I was more scared of her than Mike. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to say no. And she's looked at me. She's like, you remind me of me, And I was like, all right. She goes, well, here's the deal though, Heather. I'm going to be honest with you. You got 90 days and you got a quota and you got to hit it. And if you're out, then you're out. That's how it works, And I'm like, okay, well, let's go.
No pressure.
And I actually ended up being there for 4 years, which is a long time in outside sales. Mm-hmm. I actually ended up being the number one in the entire country, and it was Southwestern Bell Wireless at the time. Yeah. So I beat people in New York, LA, and I was in Fort Worth, Texas. And then this was my first moment of learning about business. So I'm at the top of my game. I'm making like $120,000 a year, and I'm 24, and single and going through school at night. That's how I paid my way through school. And I'm number one in the country, and I get my little you're number one based on numbers, that's it. And then I get fired the next day.
Oh.
And I'm confused, I'm like, I don't understand. I thought this is how this works. You work really hard and they like you and they pay you more or something. And they're like, they didn't say it this way, but it's like, I was a threat. I was 24. I was a female. And I was also hitting all the tiers. I was making more money than like the managers. So that had to go. And that was my kind of first experience of like, oh, I don't understand that I got fired because I was good at something. So after that, I kind of became a little more recluse, and I actually traveled the country doing real estate seminars, but I started to wear like big baggy clothes and covering my boobs and becoming more of a guy because I thought, well, I don't want to get fired again for being good. So I won't be too good. I'll just be kind of good, I can't outshine the guys here. I have to like underplay myself and play a little dumb. So I did that for a little bit, and I was traveling around the country with guys, like me and like 5 guys, and which was fun. I had a lot of good experiences. I actually learned a lot. But then it wasn't until I got out of that and started running my own consulting company, and then I went through a massive bankruptcy, lost everything, that I had this kind of, okay, whatever I'm doing is not working here, and I had a new experience of myself. So that's kind of a long story to show that I think over a period of time, through bumping up against a lot of walls and trying to emulate other people and emulate other schools of thought that I thought were real, it wasn't until then that I thought, what is it that who I really am, and how can I just own who I am and go after what I'm good at? So that's been the nice little what I call up and down of entrepreneurship along the way. And I think that's a powerful experience.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's quite a story, and I don't hear people talk about how they were fired for their success very often. So
yeah, I was fired. Yeah. They played it, how they played it was, well, we're going to take away all your accounts and then you're going to keep your quota up. I'm like,
you're going to have to start completely from scratch.
Okay, fine, I quit. Come on, so you have to start from scratch. And by the way, my favorite was I had an assistant. They gave me an assistant at my year 3 because they had to keep up. And the assistant was a male, and he was older than me. Now, doesn't bother me, but there was a lot of controversy about, and remember, I'm in Texas, okay? There's a lot of controversy like that in the office. So they took all my accounts I built up, and they gave them to my assistant, who was a guy. And then I guess I was fired, or like,
wow.
It was interesting.
You hear, okay, so that's the kind of thing you see like on a movie, or something.
It really did happen.
You don't really think that's going to actually happen to anybody.
Yeah, because I was 25 and I was busting butt. But what's funny is that here's what's funny. So I'm a direct response marketer. That's why I consider myself now. Yeah. It was my first direct marketing experience. I actually built an entire funnel. That's why I beat everybody. I built a funnel.
Okay.
I built a funnel inside of corporate America, and knowing what I was doing, they didn't understand it. This is right, like 1999, okay, 98, 99. So you get the world of internet. It's kind of like, it's still there, still not, kind of, email, whatever. It's still like not everyone has it, right? So we're selling cell phones. I'm selling cell phones this is back in the day when, and I got this account called Lockheed Martin, but they gave it to me because it was dead. It was like, oh, it's dead. It's this old school Lockheed Martin. It's going to be a managed nightmare. We didn't make money on management. And I went in there and I decided to make a marketing funnel because I knew people in corporate America, especially big companies like that, they all talk and they're all buddies. They've been there forever, right? So I created this flyer and this email flyer, like just nowadays, it's like an attachment, And I created this whole attachment and I sent it out to 10 or 15 people in Lockheed. But I know, how people in big companies, they send it to friends of friends of friends of friends of friends of friends. Right. So they kept sending it. And instead of saying, hey, come to my office or call me for this offer, just fax me this form, this one sheet, flyer. And I would sit in the back of the Southwestern Bell office, and I would just sit there all day, and I just get faxes. Yeah. Fax. Because they all have fax machines in Lockheed Martin. So they just sit there and fax. And I would get stacks of faxes of orders. And then I would put them all together, and then I would go there once a day or twice a week, and I would have all their orders for them. And they were happy as a lark, and I'm making like a lot of money. Yeah. And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I have this thing called email. Sending this email thing, and then they send me orders, and then I just go there and fill them, and they're just like, what? That's illegal. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
So
I have actually heard someone tell me that it was illegal to do that early on. So
Really?
that's,
Yeah, I
yeah.
bet they did.
Yeah.
It really isn't. I mean, of course not. Why do I have to be there? Nowadays, it's like, oh, we just send you a link and then you do a shopping cart and it's a course. But
Right.
back then, this is 98.99. Like, oh, you need to work. I'm like, why, why? And I would literally get in the office at 10, leave at 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like killing it. Yeah, number one in the country. So that was my first direct response marketing. But I wasn't, here's the key. I wasn't praised for that.
Right.
I was scolded for that.
Right.
I was fired. They had to pay me the money because of the structure.
Yeah.
But then they quickly ended it. And so it was interesting how I think big companies sometimes kill themselves off.
Yeah.
Versus praising the people that are actually really the innovators. And that's why there's so many entrepreneurs today.
Yeah.
I believe that.
That's yes. And heck, my entire life is based on that principle. So yes, I agree. So, and that brings us around because now one of the things that you do, one of the many things you do apparently, is you actually coach people to have this kind of success and to become that kind of entrepreneur, right?
Yes.
So how's that set up? How do you help?
Thank you for that. So after 15 years of bumping my head against the wall, I've decided, and I've always coached people, but it's always been my referral, like, hey, I know this person, and then I get a call. But I decided to kind of come out and go, yeah, I really want to take on 10 people that I really transform their business and their life through marketing, strictly through marketing. I mean, there's all kinds of things I can help with, productivity and all those, and mindset, but really inside of marketing, how do they market themselves, their business? It doesn't matter if it's real estate investing, or if it's a realtor, or if it's one of my clients is a producer of shows. And we talk a lot about the fundamentals of his company and marketing. Mm-hmm. The other one owns a towing company, very successful towing company, 22 years in experience. How can we, take his business to the next level and add another revenue source that's more passive for him? And we're building out those systems, and he's something he's never done before. So I'm building out the systems to create more revenue and leverage that revenue. And that's what I could do. No matter what the business is, it doesn't matter if it's local or online. My own experience is online marketing, specifically in copywriting, but it doesn't matter because it's all just systems, and helping them with their marketing and their marketing systems so that they can be out of the business and see the system work for them.
Excellent. So what are some like basic steps?
Sure.
Like if you were going to work with me,
What's funny?
we'll
The first thing I work with people on is what's their avatar. And people go, oh, I know it. Blah. No, what really is your avatar? Let's get down to point where one of the big companies here that I know, they have each of their copywriters and the people in their business have the picture of their avatar in their cube. So, and what I mean by that is you got to name them. You got to give them a male or female. So Jane, 30, married, 3 kids, or Jane, 35, divorced, 2 kids, high school educated, not high school. You got to get really, really specific so that you can then talk to that person. Because marketing is about talking to one person, not talking to the masses. Coca-Cola talks to the masses, okay? Yeah. McDonald's talks to the masses, but they still have their avatar. Very clear on their avatar. If you watch their stuff, it's kids, So their avatar is really kids. It's the parents of the kids, and it's the kids. Ultimately, the kids. The kids are the one like, Mom, I want to go to McDonald's. It's not the kid going, I want to McDonald's. Guys, do we all want to go to McDonald's? No, it's the kids are going, Mom, let's go to McDonald's. Right. Yeah. So they talk to the kids. So that's the first thing I work with on. And it's funny because most of the time people want to get through that conversation within 5 minutes. Right. And it might know it's like an hour or sometimes 2. And they get frustrated with that because it's like, oh, this is not part of it. I'm like, this is so key. That if you don't know who you're talking to, you don't know what your target market is, truly down to like the name, the face, the ethnic, what they do every day, then it's going to be really challenging to grow your business.
Yes, I agree.
So that's my number one.
And I can imagine that being pretty challenging. we always call it customer personas. I like avatar better. That's a cooler sounding word. But that's the same idea, right? You're doing a kind of customer profile.
Yes.
Who your target market is.
Really clear. I call that, if someone calls it to me, I like this, the Homer Simpson.
Okay.
I say the name Homer Simpson. You know who it is.
Exactly.
You know how old he is. You know what color he is. You know how many kids he has. You know what he does for a living. You know what he does on his off time. It's all clear.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know he likes beer. He's hanging out
Yeah.
with the buddies. He works as an engineer. He's got one wife. He's got 2 kids. I mean, you could just 3 kids actually.
Yeah.
3 kids. Where he lives, how much his house is.
Yeah.
What part of town does he live in? What kind of town does he live in? What does he do on his off time? You can see it. So you can write to Homer.
You get an entire customer profile with 2 words. That's
Homer.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Right. So you want to have
one word.
Homer.
You could just use 1 word. Yeah.
You want to have your Homer Simpson.
Yeah. Unless I mistakenly think I'm talking about like the Odyssey or something. Then,
Yeah.
Yeah. It might be confusing.
The Odyssey.
So.
That's awesome. Or Star Trek. Star Trekkies. I'm not a Star Trekkie guy. Sorry.
No. Come on. All right.
I'm not. I'm Star Wars.
Okay. All right. All right.
And Game of
all right.
Thrones.
Sexy points
now
are
you
still
want
there.
to talk
Then.
about Game of Thrones? Here all day.
If we
I'm
start-
Khaleesi.
yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. I can see that. I can see that.
Oh yeah, I like infuse Khaleesi. I
Nice. She
Well,
does own her sexuality
she
too.
does.
Yeah.
There's a great sexy boss right there.
You're right. Yeah. There you go. So that would be an avatar for that persona. So
Khaleesi.
you could use that. I mean, I could see using that not just for picking out your target market, but for sort of defining your brand a little. Then, right?
Yes, the
excellent.
colors, the lines, what they're doing, what they're not doing. I mean, it's really everything.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get really clear on it. Some people are like, oh, it's everybody. No,
Yeah.
it's never. Who's writing the check?
Yeah.
There was a gentleman that I worked with, and I did coach for a while, and he doubled his business. He was a construction guy, he did construction kitchens. He sold kitchens, and one of the things I really worked with him on is who's his target market, and he would kind of talk in circles, and finally I'm like, no, your target market is women.
Oh, yeah.
Because women are the one going to their husband like, oh, I'm getting a $25,000 kitchen. Oh, we are? Yeah, we are. Oh, are we getting a brand new bathroom? Yes, we are. Did you have a problem with that?
I've been that husband. I've been the
So,
one on the receiving end
and
of
you're
that.
writing the check, or I'm writing the check, or I've already picked the construction guy. So I want to. They're the ones who pick the construction guy and the team that's going to be in their home building their kitchen that they're going to be cooking in later.
Yeah.
So when he got that, then he was like, oh, that's why it's like I'm not closing the deals because I'm trying to talk to the husband.
Yeah.
Like, no, you talk to the woman.
Yeah.
The husband's just
Yeah.
there for show.
Yeah. He's there to sign the checks.
Yeah, he's there to go. I don't know. You like it? That's good.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
cool. Yeah.
He has to like you too, but honestly, it's more like, oh, you like the guy? Okay. I'll do that. So yeah, you got to be clear on who your avatar is. He then started dressing differently. I had him dress a certain way, so when he walked into the home of her home, that she felt more safe with him. Like, oh, I like this guy's clean. These little things that women
Yeah.
look at. They
That's
don't want a dirty
interesting.
construction guy in their freaking kitchen.
Right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So he started
this
dressing
is
differently,
this
talking
is.
differently.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
listening. I'm
but that's
sorry.
what he was doing. So I helped him communicate. So one of the things I used to do is travel the country doing real estate seminars, and I learned the art of the sale via words, a word slinger. And I'll tell you this fun story because it now ties into everything that I do, and you would appreciate this.
All right.
Is I traveled the country and we'd walk into a room, and in 90 minutes we'd have to pull $3,000 out of someone's pocket because that's how we made a living. So imagine walking into a room with strangers live, not online where they can just click you off and they can't, you can't hear them yelling at you, but you have to 90 minutes pull $3,000 out of their pocket for an event or seminar or whatever you're selling. And you saw people who were rolling their eyes. You saw people getting mad. You saw people walking out, and you can't let that affect you. And so you learned the art of persuasion and the art of communication in words quickly. And my speaker I was traveling with, we were sucking wind like bad. And so what I did is I started to learn the art of presentation and selling presentation. And I started to teach him. I went to Robert Allen, I went to Ron LeGrand, I went to some other big time players, Marshall Silver, and started to learn what they did, how they did it, what they said, when they said it, the tempo of what they said, when they said in the presentation, and started to teach him, and he started to learn himself. And we went from like, under 10%, which was like, we were going to Peoria, Illinois, what is that? To we were getting 25%. So now all of a sudden we're packing our bags to LA and New York and Atlanta, not Peoria, Illinois. Yeah. So we were happy. But the piece of that over 7 years that I learned that, I now help business owners in their marketing and their wording of how they're presenting their business in that short amount of time to get people to either know, like, or trust them or walk into their doors.
So there's a bit of like persona tuning involved in what you're doing then.
Persona tuning, yes.
Sorry. All right. Yeah. I mean, that's what it feels like to me. I mean, you're not just teaching them techniques for clothes. I mean, you're also teaching them how to craft themselves and how to conduct themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Presentation,
yeah.
Audio, visual, communication, energy, all of it's a play. Yeah. If your energy's off, if anything's off, people feel that. Yeah. And so they'll walk away from you. Yeah. It's not just strategy. And unfortunately, in our current online marketing world, everyone's strategy, social media strategy. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, such bullshit. Social media strategy. Here's what I think of that.
Yeah.
It's just so boring. Like, who cares? So I'm not a big fan of social media strategy. I think it's a bunch of horse shit. Yeah. I think it's just another way to communicate, to get people, draw people in, to attract people into your funnels and into your door, but it's not a place to sell. It's an attraction mechanism only.
Yeah. All right. And to that end, I mean, how best can you use something like social media to get people into the funnel?
Yeah, great question. It depends on of course, the market. Like right now I'm working with a client, it's called Skinny Bean, and they're a local business, and they're a weight loss business, and our market is females. A female who's 45, has kids that are grown, and she's got a little cellulite and wants to lose 10 pounds. That's our market. Yeah. Okay. And, people are like, oh, you need to create a community on Skinny Bean. I'm like, I'm not going to create a community on Skinny Bean. These women want results. They want to come into the office and lose weight, bottom line. So our Facebook page has a lot of what I call demonstration marketing. And the demonstration marketing is one or two things. One, it's a video that I helped produce where it shows our model laying down, getting on the machine, the process they go through, and then a testimonial of what they lost. Okay. And then like a few pictures of showing of women saying, I lost X. That's called demonstration marketing. And once I place those on there, that's it. And I do some advertising to the videos to continually show the demonstration. And then from there they call because they want to know more. They want to schedule. I don't have to sit there and, do quotes every day and you can do it. I mean, what the hell is that? It's Facebook to me is just another website. Yeah. It's to show the information and the demonstration and result of the product and other testimonials, and then you get them to book, call, whatever. Mm-hmm. That's my view.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be this like you gotta, I don't do the quotes every day and.
I automate that stuff, so I don't care about that.
I mean, I like it. I do. I mean, I use it a lot for podcasting. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good one. I just don't think it has to be this constant conversation all the time.
It's interesting.
And I know I'm against the social media. I call it guruism.
Yeah.
So I apologize, but I just don't think it needs it.
Yeah.
I just don't think it needs it.
Well, and honestly, it's exhausting to try to do all that stuff anyway. So
it's totally exhausting.
I'd much rather put my energy into, how to. I mean, I don't mind engaging and talking to people about whatever, but I that strategy of keeping the conversation going almost 24/7. I don't know how I'm expected as an entrepreneur to do that anyway. So I probably fail at it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's probably good to fail at it.
Absolutely.
So all right. So now. I like that, and I like I kind of like your position on that. Although I still
Don't worry.
probably lean a little heavily on social media. I never try to sell though. I never try to sell on social media. Not really. I'll mention in maybe a book,
Yeah.
is up or whatever. But that's pretty much as far as I go.
Worries.
How do I, how does, and we talked before. A lot of my audience is, they're
Authors.
authors and
Yeah.
primarily independent authors. So how does a guy or gal in that business start bringing people into their funnel and nurturing those into eventually into book sales?
Awesome. I agree that. So I actually have, what do I have? 5 books on Amazon, 6. I will say the one thing that I did in my authorship experience that was probably one of the hardest things I did. However, it's also been really rewarding was do my own Audible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did my own audiobook. And I went to a gentleman here in Austin that he does this for a living. He's a voiceover for a living for like 25 years. He's got an amazing studio. And I walked into his office. I was referred to him. And I also know that he produced a lot of like high level books of
Yeah.
authors. Okay. And I walk into his office and we'd sit down and I tell him what I want to do. And he literally goes, look, you got to know this is difficult. And I'm going to encourage you not to do this, and I'm like, well, too bad, I'm doing it. So he's like, okay. So it took me 6 to 7 weeks to complete it. I went to his office or his studio once a week and I couldn't go more than 2 hours. And when he first started doing that, like, I'm going to book you out really slowly, I'm like, oh, come on, it's an audiobook.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is going to be easy. Okay, no. So, I'm in the studio and I'm here, I'm like reading my own book, which is weird, by the way, to read your own book. It's really weird. I don't know why, but it's weird.
Yeah.
And then he's in my ear and he's reading along with me in the other room, right? And if I even miss like a the or an or a uh-huh or something, he's like yelling, do it again, do it again, do it again. I'm like, ah! It's like this experience. I'm like, after 2 hours, I would go home and crash. I was exhausted. So I did that. It took 7 weeks, I think, put it all together. And now I have my audiobook. I'm very proud of that. I would actually suggest that every author either do one themselves to experience it or do outsourcing. I think audiobooks are incredible.
Yeah.
And they're a great way to get your message out. I think a lot of authors don't do them or they wait till the book is like really big to do it. And I'm not sure why, because people do listen more than they read. And so I would highly suggest that. The other thing I would suggest is in your book, quote unquote, Kindle or book, always have a place for people to go and opt in for bonuses. Yeah. So you're actually capturing that lead. That's a big one for me. So I have an entire other list of people that have bought my book and they go to the first page. It says, go to this link and you get a bonus on blah, blah, blah. And they love that. And one of the bonuses I give away, actually at sexybossinc.com, if you got opt in, you're welcome to get it, is the first 2 or 3 chapters audio of my book, which is on Audible and it has a big price. And so giving that away to get a sense of my book for the first 3 chapters, I give that away, is powerful and it has a large value. So I would suggest that.
That's that's cool. And I think most of my audience probably is really familiar with that idea of giving a freebie away to get people on the list.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I don't think we've ever really talked about the aspect of audiobooks, and it's kind of a shame. And I will tell you, I've completely dropped the ball on audiobooks because I don't know why. But you're
It's
right.
a huge opportunity.
Yeah, it is huge. And a couple
Make
of
more money on it because Audible it's a higher price.
Yeah.
Their perceived value of higher price. Sometimes our Kindle books are $7 or $3 or $5 or whatever, but Audible has a higher value proposition because it is a person's voice. I do suggest if you have a decent voice or whatever, then I would suggest you do it yourself because there is something about listening to an audio book from the author.
Right.
Now, I know a lot of big authors don't do that. But even, who's the recent one? Tony Robbins, he has an audiobook out.
Yes. Money or whatever.
Yeah, money. Yeah. And how he did it's kind of a nice hybrid. He did a hybrid. And I like it because he knows he's not going to be like me, just go into the to the booth and do every single word. Like, he's not gonna do that.
Yeah.
He's got this big voice, and he just likes to talk. So what they did is they hybrid it. They did a voiceover who's doing every single word on the chapter.
Yeah.
And then they would open it up and let him just kind of talk about that particular either section or chapter for 10 minutes. So you got like the book and then you get him. It's a nice hybrid. And I think that every author should, consider that.
That is, no, I kind of like that too, because, and I've tried doing my audiobooks myself, and, I broadcast, so I felt like I was going to be able to nail it. And then, yeah, within the first chapter, I'm like, yeah, this is a lot more difficult
You
than
really
I
got to have a
anticipated.
professional. You got to have a professional, and you got to have go into studio and have someone, and like I said, he was amazing to me, but I missed any word. And because you're the writer, you miss words because in your brain, you already said it, you already wrote it. So you'll miss it. And anytime he's like, do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again. I'm like, and then he would say like, you said it really blandly. Do it again. I'm like,
Oh, wow.
So
That's good. Yeah.
it was good.
Yeah.
It was good. But yeah. It was actually a really great experience, and I have utmost respect for voiceover talent. Utmost respect.
Yeah.
Anytime I hear a Disney movie, I'm like, I have utmost respect for those people. It's so different to do a voiceover.
Yeah, you don't even think about it because especially if you're like, I corn around all the time and I do voices and I have fun with it and I do the show and I've been on radio and television and it's nowhere near the same. So
nowhere near.
Yeah, but it is a huge thing. A couple of my partners, they have audiobooks. That one in particular has confessed to me that most of his money comes from his audiobooks over his print or ebooks. So yeah, it's huge. I kind of feel bad that I'm not already in that market. So working on that right now, actually.
Yeah, I highly suggest it for all authors to do that because it is an untapped market. Because there are people that just don't do, just like us right now, we're podcasting. It's a lot easier to do it. You can be driving your car listening to us. Hopefully you're driving with two hands. You could be on the bus. You could be on the subway. You could be on an airplane. You could be doing a lot of different things in an audio setting. And as an author, you need to make sure you're doing all totalities of how people take in information.
Yeah.
So I would highly suggest that for all authors, no matter what kind of authorship, by the way,
Yeah.
even if it's small. Like one of the things I'm going to be looking at doing is I have 5 or 6 books out, but only one audio.
Yeah.
And I think that's a detriment to me. But when I did a Sexy Boss, I wanted to have the totality of that and that whole experience.
Yeah.
But I should be doing audio of all my books.
Yeah. Well, there's a kind of intimacy with
There
that
is.
too, because it is your voice in their head, in their ear, talking
Yeah.
about these concepts.
And what you need to know about me, I don't consider myself an author. Like
Really?
Oh God, no! I like in high school and in college. I hate English. I hate English. I hated writing. I failed second grade spelling.
Yeah.
I failed spelling. They almost didn't pass me. I had to be pulled back, but I think I went through. Yeah, and from the age of about 1 to 7, I didn't talk.
Yeah.
I really I didn't talk. I was a really mute kid, and it was around the age 6 or 7, my mom was like, okay, something's wrong with my daughter. So, and I guess I wasn't talking like the rest of kids. And so from age 7 to 15, I was in speech therapy twice a week for 7, 8 years. And that's why people ask me, you're not from Texas? I'm like, I can turn it on and off. Because like,
I can do that too.
my whole family has a thick accent. Like, honey, how are you? It's so good to see you. And I don't have that. Yeah. It's because I went to speech therapy. But the point is, I don't consider I never grew up going, I want to be an author. I'm like, I didn't want that at all. Or even in speech or communication, like, screw up. So it's just interesting how I'm now in that industry of, I guess I'm an author. It's this weird experience for me. I'm now an
well, you got at least 6 books here that say you are an author. So
I know. Guess I am.
You might want to just own it.
I guess I am now. But I don't consider myself like a like an author. There's just people out there that just are so good.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, I just tell stories.
Yeah.
I'm just a storyteller.
Yeah, well, newsflash, that's what authors do. So
yeah, I hope it's good stories. I hope you'll like it.
They're going to be good to somebody. You have an audience, so clearly you're doing well. So you definitely have an audience. And okay, so one thing we haven't talked about yet, and it's interesting, is the sort of, because a lot of your stuff is focused on like you've got the man's guide to online dating and the game of dating and that sort of thing. So you've got that aspect of your business. Do you want to talk a little about
Yeah.
that? And
Oh,
how that
sure.
ties in with everything else?
It's a fun one.
Okay. I'm good. We're good.
Datingtriggers.com or onlydateyounger.women.com.
Okay.
So for all the women listeners, they're going to like kill me. I get that a lot. That's so it's geared towards men. Here's my avatar. He's 40.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Jim. He is divorced. He's got 2 kids. He's busy. He's got a big career.
Yeah.
And he wants to date. And he wants someone fun in his life. And he wants to, have a good time. And he doesn't want to go to the bars.
Yeah.
That's my guy. So he comes to me. He's like, how do I do this? I don't want to have a failed marriage again. I don't want to have a failed relationship again. How do I do this? How do I do this nowadays? It's kind of confusing to me. I met my wife when I was in college. I'm not out and about in bars. I don't want to do bars. How do I do this? And how do I communicate to women? Because I'm constantly talking to women all the time, and I can't tell if they're hitting on me or not. I'm confused by that.
Right.
And I get that all the time. And how do I decipher? Is she hitting on me? Is she not hitting on me? Is that sexual harassment? I don't want to upset her. So there's all these questions. So I teach men how to communicate to us because we're so simple. Just kidding. We're not. We're not. Especially nowadays, we're really not because it's very confusing to men. Like, I don't know. I think she's hitting on me. No, she's not hitting on me. I think she likes me. No, she hates me. So there's this constant, okay, not sure. So I teach them how to communicate with women, and women are all over their life. Their mom, their sister, their coworker, their boss, their someone who works for them. So you want to learn how to communicate so that you get the most out of your life, meaning what you want in life. It's not about some people are like, oh, you're teaching them how to, I don't know, how do they say that? I think they someone like how to submit to them. It's not that. It's just like how to communicate, not to communicate like us. It's actually how we communicate so that we can kind of just get on the same page. Mm-hmm. We don't want you to start talking in feelings. We talk in feelings. This is how I feel. This is what I want. I feel like you do this. These are the words we use. It's constant. But we don't want men to sit down and go, well, I feel that I'm hurt. We don't want that. We want you to be men. So how do you be a man in our society of talking about femininity all the time? How do you do that? And so I talk a lot about what I call being the real man you are, and standing and being a real man, and being able to communicate with women in your life and attracting the best woman in your life. So that's what I do with that side of the world. It's kind of fun. Yeah. I love that world because the guys are so receptive to learning and wanting to understand, and I love that kind of communication. And it's just easy for me. Why? Because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
I don't have to think about it.
All right, so now I have to ask, because
Sure.
if I don't, I'm going to have 1,000 guys email me and want to beat the crap out of me. But what is a real man, and how does that real man attract younger women?
That's a great question. So, okay, how do I answer that?
Carefully, I'm thinking.
It is. Yeah, it is careful. Okay, so first of all, this is not a political podcast, so we can just throw that shit out of the water, right?
Right.
Okay, good. Being a real man is being a man.
Yeah.
It sounds so weird, but I feel like nowadays the men on TV are they're soft.
Yeah.
They're just not men anymore. And so the constant complaint of women is there's no strong men anymore. But I'm like, well, you're kind of brown beating the hell out of them. So no wonder there's no any men out there. You're telling them to be fucking wussies and pussies. So they're not, but yet they're like, I want a man. But well, stop browbeating the hells out of them,
Yeah.
If you look at just what I call secular TV at 7:00 at night on a Monday, you see the different kinds of shows, and the men are not men. What's the show? It's called House something. I'm going blank on it right now. Married with Children. Mm-hmm. He's in that in that show.
You talking about Modern Family?
Yes, Modern Family. That's a great one.
Yeah.
So you have the 2 gay guys. That's fine. I get that.
Yeah.
But then you have the other guy who's married to the daughter of the.
Yeah.
He's kind of wimpy. He's a realtor. He's kind of a wimpy dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a total wimpy dude. Wimpy dude. I don't know, honey. What do I do? I was like, really? But then you have married children guy, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, all man. He's all man all the time.
Yeah.
And he's got the hot smoking wife. Well, there's reason for that. Because he's all man. But what's funny is he's older all man. And nowadays, real men, they're older.
Yeah.
Like why can't they be 25? So I would say be masculine
Yeah.
because we like that, actually.
Yeah.
I know that sounds so weird.
No, no. I mean, and
We want men.
it's difficult because if you come across as too masculine, then society wants to beat you down for it, and
Right.
there's a kind of identity crisis that's
There
happening for
is.
men in this country right
There
now.
is. There's like this weird identity crisis. Like
Yeah.
it's cool to be wussy. And
Yeah.
I'm like, personally, I don't think it is. I
Yeah.
don't think there is. And I'll tell you an interesting story. I was coaching, I did some of my, what I call giving back there's a thing here called Capital Factory. It's all about entrepreneurship and they create all kinds of entrepreneurs. And so I gave marketing coaching to a company that was a startup. And there were two young guys. They're the owners, young, 23 and 25, like young, And they were in the middle of like asking for money and seed money and all this. And I was working with them and I was going to work with them on their marketing, but I ended up working with them, like them being men, which was not what I thought. Now I twisted it, of course, because I wanted them to think that I'm actually doing that. But I worked with them on their presentation of them as men. And I actually took them. My boyfriend's a big, huge powerlifter, man. We took the guys on a Saturday and our time off to Men's Warehouse, and we fitted them for suits.
Yeah.
Both of them said, I've never been fitted for a suit in my life, ever. We taught them how to stand. We taught them how to pull their shoulders back, pull up, look, because they're about to go and do all this like funding and asking for money and stuff. So they did this. We got in their suits. We got the colors, like what color to wear, how to present their head, how to smile, moving their shoulders, all this kinds of stuff. Their confidence rose. They're now extremely successful. They're the only ones in suits the entire time through the seed funding. They got major seed funding, and they were like, Heather, people are treating us differently.
Yeah.
And I said, that because you're being a man. And the rest of their colleagues and people that were also looking for money are like wearing jeans and flip-flops and an old sweaty t-shirt. And I'm like, look, guys, I know Mark Zuckerberg looks like that. Yeah. And I know he's a billionaire. But guys, Donald Trump doesn't look like that. He asks for money every day. There's a reason he doesn't look like shit every day. So you got to get that people still have that perception of you. And so owning that as a man, you guys said their confidence, you should have seen them, like their confidence was like, oh, people are treating us with respect and they're asking us questions and they're giving us money. And oh my God, like this is happening. This is real. And I'm like, and I know there was a lot of things that shifted with them. It wasn't just their looks, but when they shifted their outfit and their body, then everything else shifted, believe it or not. Then other things started to happen, their confidence rose. So I would say just be, for men, we want you to wear a suit and cufflinks. And
I'm totally going out and getting a suit right after this call.
We do. I know that sounds.
And that whole I don't know, like the whole Don Draper vibe and everything. Like I kind of miss. I want to be. I watched this whole series of videos with Matthew McConaughey sitting in a coffee shop and drinking coffee and just kind of musing about the world. And he's in a suit and he's like holding a little coffee cup in one hand. And I'm like, dude, I want to be like that. Like I don't know why I'm not like that, but I want to be like that guy.
It's true. Like the show Suits.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, those guys are in, $1,000 suits. If they were walking around in hooded T-shirts and sweatshirts, I don't think that it would have the same effect on a fucked. So that's what I would say. And I love what I do. I encourage anyone to go to my sites if you want to.
Definitely. And they can,
HeatherHavenwood.com.
They're going to be able to get to them. Yeah. We're going to have a whole series of links right at the bottom of this podcast. And with that, actually, I ran you over a little. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up.
No worries.
But hey, if you guys want to check out Heather Havenwood's site, you can. You can check it out in the show notes, HeatherHavenwood.com. And a slew of others. And there's some cool ones in there. I'll also have links to her book, Sexy Boss. Among other things. So go check that out. Heather, thanks so much for your time. And
you're welcome.
This was a lot of fun. Now I'm kind of pumped up, man. I'm going to go be a man right now. I'm going to find me I don't know what I'm
Oh
gonna
my
do.
gosh. That's what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna go be a man now. Yeah, I don't mean that negatively, like you're not.
No,
Okay.
no, no,
I think
no.
it's okay to own it.
I'm gonna own it. I feel it. I'm
And
gonna go own it. My
I mean,
wife's gonna thank you.
you'd want your boy, if you had a boy, I don't know if you have a boy, but if you want even a kid, you'd want him to
Yeah.
own it, you know. Did you see I'm a big fan of HBO and not Game of Thrones, True Detectives. Did you see True Detectives this last
Yeah,
season?
I haven't seen this last season
Oh,
yet. Yeah,
okay. Well, there's a whole part about the guy who's a cop and he has a son. He's not sure if the son's his, and there's this whole thing about it. I'm not gonna go, but anyone who's watched it, you know what I'm talking about. And he gets mad at his son because his son's like wimpy,
yeah,
and he's like trying to man up his son,
yeah.
And his mother's over like, it's okay that he's this way, and I'm like, oh, no, it's not. Yeah. Um, so it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. All right.
It's kind of an interesting. Not saying men have to be this like.
No, you can still be considerate without
Yeah.
without wussing out. Yeah,
Right.
I think I get the vibe. All right, I'm gonna go practice. All right. So
I don't want people to think I'm like this. Like,
no.
anything. I'm just like I just think that nowadays it's okay.
I think
that's
so.
why Donald Trump's doing so well. It's like it's okay to be like, no, I think you suck.
it is kind of it is kind of in a way refreshing to see
Refreshing.
somebody kind of stand up like that.
Yeah,
And-
like no, I think he sucks. I
Yeah.
don't like him.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I can't believe he's. Like, well,
I'm
it's
not a
kinda
big fan
true.
of Donald Trump, I'll tell you, but I kind of respect him more than any other candidate I've seen so far.
I do.
So,
I do respect him a lot.
so.
So thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank
I
you so
really
much.
appreciate it. And I
All
hope
right.
you guys listened and had a good time and had fun, but learned something.
Yeah, I'm sure they did, and I'm gonna field any emails and phone calls I get. I'll send your way.
Okay.
All right, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so tune in, stick around, everybody, for the wrap up, and otherwise, we'll see you next week. And thanks again, Heather, for joining me. And it's been great. We'll talk to you again soon, I hope.
All right, thanks.
All right, that was my interview with Heather, and I hope you dug it. I did. There's this thing, I mentioned this in the show, the Matthew McConaughey YouTube video, and I sit and watch that every now and then just for zen. I'm going to put a link to it in the show notes so you can check it out, but that's a man right there. Maybe not. Some people might not agree with that. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. That her notion from the very beginning of the show, by the way, of everyone's an entrepreneur. Even if you're working for someone else, you're an entrepreneur in your own organization, and I happen to believe that. I think that's a pretty good policy to have, regardless. That's the way I always operated. I was talking to Jeff Goins yesterday. You'll get to hear his interview on the show a little later. He's coming down the line. We got a few ahead of him. So I was talking to him, and there was this notion of the portfolio life, which is his big push. And, it really made a lot of sense to me, and it clicked with some aspects of this interview that, we're evolving to this, everyone's an entrepreneur and everyone's a freelancer. Maybe not freelancer, but everyone is definitely an entrepreneur. And our careers are becoming less about longevity and more about, what skills and insights and experiences we can bring to the table. And I think that's a good way to think about your career. I think it could actually relieve a lot of stress if you are thinking of your career in terms of how am I improving myself? What am I learning that I can bring into my job, no matter what your job is. I mean, you could be a fry cook or you could be an executive in a corporation and continue to learn and grow on your own time usually. But even if you are spending your own time learning and growing and gaining new skills, that can help but help you. So I highly recommend it. So I've kind of melded a few concepts from a couple of different interviews here, but I think it all comes around. I think it's all great advice. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I'm going to go ahead and hop in and start working on more packing and more moving. Pray for my soul. But I hope you enjoyed this interview. If you have any questions at all, I'm still taking calls. I'm still taking emails. Feel free to fling anything you want my way. You can call me at 281-809-WORD. That's 281-809-9673. If you are an entrepreneur with a, you want to, you want to figure out how to, maybe you just want to figure out how to think like an entrepreneur in your workplace. That might be a good thing to ask about. Happy to answer questions like that. Now, if you'd like, I always recommend to people to write books as part of their marketing strategy, but you could also write a book as part of a launch strategy for a new career, which is something I think I'm going to explore in more depth later in some blog posts and podcasts. And if you're interested in that, you might want to pick up my book, my new book, The 30-Day Author, which is available practically everywhere. Excuse me, I got this whole throat thing going on right now. I think there's dust from the moving. So check out 30-Day Author. You can find it on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, everywhere. So just go search that. And if you search for my name in those places, you can usually come across it. You can check out my author page. Check me out on kevintumlinson.com. And I have not yet actually added that book to my books page. Shame on me. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I've been busy. But go check that out. I think you'll dig it. It's about getting into the mindset of writing every day. And there's some great advice on that. But then I also kind of present my formula for how to break a book down and write it, in any given amount of time. And I use 30-Day Author because most people think of 30 days as being a pretty quick turnaround for a book. And, there's National Novel Writing Month, which is actually happening right now in November. And if you're not already in that, you've still got some time. You can write. I am living proof that you can write a book in 15 days or less. So if you want to do that, now's your chance. You might not get to read this book and do that at the same time. But if you skip ahead to the formula, you can figure out how to break your days down so that you can write a book in 15 days. So there you go. A little tip just for you. Go check that out. 30-Day Author. And then, of course, you can contact me. If you go to wordslingerpodcast.com, you can email me. You can leave me a voicemail through SpeakPipe. You can call me at 281-809-WORD, 281-809-9673. And I hope you're having a great life in general, but I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you continue to have a great day. I look forward to chatting with you again, and we will see you next time.
Word Slinger.